it's important to put yourself in these women's shoes. As you're questioning, why can't they just name the names? What you don't realize is they just told their stories of being raped and being abused, being victimized, being manipulated, being coerced, and basically held. They were young teenagers and extremely young, vulnerable women. And in Jeffrey Epstein's home and the places they went with him, they saw the most powerful people in the world in his pictures, and they saw him with those people. Can you imagine how terrifying it would be to name names like that? These are some of the richest, most powerful people in the world that could sue these women into poverty and homelessness. Yeah, it's a scary thing to name names, but I will tell you, I'm not afraid to name names. And so if they want to give me a list, I will walk in that Capitol on the House floor and I'll say every damn name that abused these women. I can do that for them, and I'd be proud to do it. Now, another thing, this is not about politics.
It's a small country, but economically very big. So we're working on something. Caitlin?
After a meeting with the Syrian president earlier today, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a big ally of yours, said that she would rather see you focused on nonstop domestic policy meetings here at the White House instead of nonstop foreign policy meetings. What's your response to her saying that, and also saying that grocery prices are up and not down, as you've said?
Yeah, so I don't know what happened to Marjorie. She's a nice woman, but I don't know what happened. She's lost her way, I think. But I have to view the presidency as a worldwide situation, not locally. I mean, we could have a world that's on fire where wars come to our shores very easily if you had a bad president. We had a horrible president, and we ended up with Russia, Ukraine, and we ended up with other disasters, too. Don't forget, I put out 8 wars, 9 to come. I think I'll get the other one taken care of, but I put out 8 wars. And look at the damage that Russia, Ukraine has done to us as a country. I mean, we spent $350 billion. We're not spending any money anymore. Now they pay us through NATO. You know, I got NATO to go from 2% to 5%. Well, that's very important. When you're president, you really sort of have to watch over the world because you're going to be dragged into it otherwise. You're going to be dragged into a world war. I think if I weren't president, first of all, that war would have never happened if I was president. And if I weren't president, that war could have led to World War III. It won't. It's not going to anymore. But when I first got in, I said, wow, this situation could lead to World War III. And I got NATO together. I got everybody together. But with all of that, I passed a great, big, beautiful bill, which is the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country. So when somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's now catering to the other side, I don't know what, I guess she's, got some kind of an act going, but I'm surprised at her. But when somebody like Marjorie goes over and starts making statements like that, it shows she doesn't know. I don't devote a lot.
Shutdown is popular for either side. And so I see the shutdown completely different from maybe my party leadership. And I'm not putting the blame on the president. I'm actually putting the blame on the Speaker and Leader Thune in the Senate. This should not be happening. And I don't think, look, as a member of Congress, we already have a low enough job approval rating. This shutdown is just going to drive everybody's approval rating that much lower.
Yes. But so you're putting the blame on the leadership of your party.
Absolutely. We control the House. We control the Senate. We have the White House. I've been vocal saying, you can use the nuclear option in the Senate. This doesn't have to be a shutdown. But what we have to do is we have to work for the American people. And our country is so divided right now. We see it all the time in every single way. It's divided in what I would say very dangerous ways. And we saw that with the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk, which has upset so many people across the board. And look, when it comes to hearing from senior citizens or my own friends and neighbors and my own family members and people that voted for me, and they're just saying, Marjorie, we just really want somebody to do something about health insurance premiums. We really want our government and our leaders to actually focus on our country for a change and fix our problems. That is the message I constantly hear from my district, and I'm a representative. I don't have to be a cheerleader for my party. I have to represent my district because those are the people that hired me and sent me here. And I myself, I agree with them, and I'm pretty much over it's just drama constantly on TV.
Marjorie Taylor Care Act tax credits from the Affordable Care Act tax. She called on her party to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. She called on her party to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits from CNN's reporting on her party to extend the Affordable CNN. And this week she called on her party to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits from CNN.
It's easy to criticize, but they're really criticizing science. Because I represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes, you said you represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, that's not a yes or no
Yes,
answer.
it's a yes or no.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, we'll take that as you don't know what you represent.
Oh,
But this, as director of the NIH, you did sign off on these so-called scientific experiments. And as a dog lover, I want to tell you this is disgusting and evil, what you signed off on, and these experiments that happened to beagles paid for by the American taxpayer. And I want you to know Americans don't pay their taxes for animals to be tortured like this. So the type of science that you are representing, Mr. Fauci, is abhorrent, and it needs to stop. Mr. Fauci, you also represent the type of science where you confess that you made up the COVID rules, including
I didn't hear what you
6
said.
feet social distancing and masking of children.
I never said I made anything up.
You admitted that you made it up. You
I
made it
didn't
up
say
as you went.
I made it up.
So are you saying this is fake news, Mr. Fauci?
I didn't say I made anything up.
What did you say?
I said that it is not based in science and it just appeared.
But this is science.
What does dogs have to do with anything that we're talking about today?
These are scientific experiments. This is what you signed off on. But you also told the American people they had to distance by 6 feet. They had to wear masks. But let's also talk a little bit further about the type of science that you represent. NIH scientists made $710 million in royalties from drug makers. A fact that's been hidden. Let's talk about the fact about, is it right for scientists and doctors getting paid by the American people, government taxpayer paychecks to get patents, where they're paid millions and hundreds of millions of dollars in royalty fees, especially when the NIH and these government agencies, most powerful agencies in our country, are recommending medical suggestions and advice and making up guidelines like 6 feet distancing and masking of children. Do you think that's appropriate? Do the American people deserve to be abused like that, Mr. Fauci? Because you're not doctor. You're Mr. Fauci in my few minutes. No, I don't need your answer. I want to talk about this right here.
Mr. Chairman,
Fauci,
objection.
I reclaim
Mr.
my
Chairman,
time.
objection.
I reclaim my time. I reclaim my time, Mr. Raskin.
Gentlelady will suspend.
Mr. Chairman,
Point of order.
just in terms of the rules of decorum, are we allowed to deny that a doctor is a doctor just because we don't want him to be a doctor?
Yes, because in my time, that man does not deserve to have a license. As a matter of fact, it should be revoked, and he belongs in
Gentlelady will
prison.
suspend. The gentlelady should recognize the doctor as a doctor.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, is this what we have become? Is this what we have devolved into? No decorum.
You know what? We can do that hearing about the poor men that were injected with syphilis, because I support you in that. That's horrific. And this government that does things like that to Americans doesn't have decorum to the American
Mr.
people.
Chairman,
Gentleman is out of
Money that is being spent that they already don't have. My amendment would strike $500 million in funding for nuclear-armed Israel's missile defense system. And it's important to phrase it that way. Israel is a nuclear-armed nation, which is very capable of defending themselves, and they have been proving that so as we've watched on the world stage. The U.S. already provides Israel with $3.8 billion annually in foreign aid. $3.8 the defense appropriation bill today that costs the American people $831 billion. It's important to talk about that this is the funding for our great men and women serving in our military and our nation's defense. The Department of Defense's mission statement is to deter war and ensure our nation's security, and that is worthy of the American people's hard-earned tax dollars. However, the American people are $37 trillion in debt, so this is money that is being spent that they already don't have. My amendment would strike $500 million in funding for nuclear-armed Israel's missile defense system. And it's important to phrase it that way. Israel is a nuclear-armed nation, which is very capable of defending themselves, and they have been proving that so as we've watched on the world stage. The U.S. already provides Israel with $3.8 billion annually in foreign aid. $3.8 billion, that's a lot of money. Additionally, the April 2024 security supplemental included $8.7 billion for Israel. That is nuclear-armed Israel. And during the recent 12-day war, the U.S. used 15 to 20% of our terminal high-altitude area defense missiles stockpiles defending nuclear-armed Israel, which cost us over $800 million. The $500 million provided in this bill will fund Israel's, that is nuclear-armed Israel's, missile defense system, the Iron Dome, David Sling, Arrow system. Yet Israel is a nuclear-armed nation. That's a pretty big deterrent for any of their enemies. Any nation that has a nuclear bomb has the greatest threat against their enemies. U.S. aid typically accounts for 15 to 20% of Israel's defense budget, even though Israel, nuclear-armed Israel, has universal health care for their citizens and subsidized college for their citizens. They're able to provide that. However, here in America, we're $37 trillion in debt. My amendment to strike $500 million in foreign aid will ensure an America First Department of Defense, and that is exactly what we need and we haven't had for a very long time. Lewd acts in front of a child, sexual assault, lewd and lascivious acts against a child, fentanyl, illegal gun, child pornography, sexual offense against child, rape of a child, and it goes on and on. Rape and sodomy of a child. If you're an American and you do these things in a foreign country, you are going to face serious consequences, probably the death penalty. You'll probably go to a prison and never come out again. This is exactly what Joe Biden and the Democrats were allowing into our country, harboring and protecting these people. God bless President Trump's consequences. And America absolutely voted for this.
Gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you. I'd like to just take a minute to remind everyone that words matter and their meanings need to be exactly clear. Contraception stops a woman from becoming pregnant. The Plan B pill kills a baby in the womb once a woman is already pregnant. You see, Equal Access to Contraception for Veterans Act is not contraception. It's providing, with taxpayer dollars, the ability for women to have an abortion. The government should not be paying for abortion. The VA should not be paying for abortion. The American taxpayers should not be paying for abortion. So this is why this is very important for all of us to do what we are called to do and not play a part in killing a baby in the womb. This is why I'm asking all of my colleagues to vote against the Equal Access to Contraception for Veterans Act. It's time to defend life in the womb. Efficiency will come to order. Welcome, everyone. Without objection, the chair may declare a recess at any time. I recognize myself for the purpose of making an opening statement. Welcome, everyone, to today's DOGE subcommittee hearing on federal real estate. This is an area where the Trump administration is taking loans, a massive real estate portfolio of more than 250,000 buildings. No one knows how much of this real estate is actually being put to use or what it's worth on the open market. Here's what we do know. Taxpayers spend about $10 billion annually just to operate and maintain all of it. American taxpayers have been drowning in debt, inflation, unaffordable grocery prices, high interest rates, and have been suffering to get by. All while the federal government is pouring billions of dollars into wasteful, empty office buildings and luxurious high-end furniture, which they, the American taxpayers, can't even afford themselves. It's quite a hypocrisy. These buildings sat largely empty during the entire Biden administration, which kept federal office workers at home long after the COVID-19 pandemic ended. By the way, truck drivers, first responders, so many people worked during the pandemic, but federal workers could stay home, and these federal buildings sat empty. Here in D.C., GAO found in 2023 that the vast majority of federal agency headquarters buildings were less than 25% occupied, some much less. Meanwhile, from 2022 to 2024, the backlog of deferred maintenance on the aging buildings the government owns grew from $216 billion to $370 billion. That's more than $1/3 of $1 trillion it will cost to restore them if we don't sell them. What's worse, aside from paying for useless leases and allowing federal buildings to decay, the Biden administration spent billions on high-end furniture for empty buildings during the pandemic. No one was sitting in those chairs or at those desks. Our witness from Open the Books will testify to that. It is only now, under the Trump administration, that we see a light at the end of the tunnel. This administration is taking historic action on reducing the size of the government, and with it, a significant reduction in the useless office space that is claimed to be essential for the government to operate. GSA has established a goal to reduce the size of the federally owned real estate footprint by 50%. This is a massive real estate auction. The president issued an executive order instructing agencies to update their property inventory and to determine which of their government leased or government-owned spaces they don't need. In just the few months since Inauguration Day, DOJ and the General Services Administration have sold off several federal properties and worked with agencies to eliminate hundreds of unneeded taxpayer-funded office leases. More specifically, they've canceled nearly 700 federal leases of 7.9 million square feet of space, saving taxpayers around $400 million. One of the canceled leases was a nearly $250 million 15-year lease at a luxury office building on Pennsylvania Avenue to house Voice of America and the United States Agency for Global Media. The Biden administration signed the lease late last year, sticking taxpayers with the tab. It's one of the fanciest office buildings in the city. You can see of the building on this poster board. Incredible. Furthermore, this beautiful building had zero broadcasting capabilities, a capability one would think would be essential for a broadcasting media agency. The cost to taxpayers to build out the building with broadcasting capabilities, $130 million. The Biden team wanted to move USAGM and Voice of America from this building that we are sitting in today into that luxury space. Instead, the president is shutting down the whole state-run media operation, and taxpayers will be spared a $250 million lease and millions more for renovations and security measures. This is just one example of countless egregious abuses of leases and contracts being paid out across the federal government.
You know, it's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey, they were run by Garland, they were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Like, as an example, Christopher Steele, a person you know well, happens to be from your country. But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier. We call it the fake news dossier. And the whole thing was a fake. The whole thing was a fake. They can put things in the file that are fake. But those files were run by bad, sick people. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe and then he gave out because he was 25 points down? And then I got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about it. She was a horrible vice president. She was a border czar, but she never went to the border. She never once called a border patrol agent to find out how we're doing. But she was the border czar. Her name was Kamala. Nobody knows her last name. It was Harris. But nobody knew her last name. So I ended up, how would you like to end up in a race where you're killing somebody, you're beating him, and then they say, all right, we'll take him out. He's not working. Let's put somebody else. And then she had a 6-week honeymoon. It was amazing. They predicted she will have a 6-week honeymoon, and she did. And then she got slaughtered. But think of it. Those files were run by these people. They were run by my enemy. If there was anything in there, they would have used them for the election. Yeah.
Do you think that drawing, I think I heard you say something the other day, that the drawing that was the subject of the Wall Street Journal report.
I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawing person.
Do you think it was fraudulent?
I don't do drawings. Sometimes people say, would you draw a building? And I'll draw 4 lines and a little roof, you know, for a charity stuff. But I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings of women. That I can tell you. They say there's a drawing of a woman, and I don't do drawings of women. And also, you know, Epstein was always a very controversial guy. I was at a very high position, you know, pretty much all my life. In all fairness, I've been doing this for a long time. I had the top show on television. I had the #1 bestsellers. I had everything, right? And I was a very successful business guy. He was a very controversial. Who would do a controversial drawing? Now, with that being said, they say there were many letters done by many people, and in many big people, you know, big successful people. But I just don't. When you talk about files, I just keep going back, and other people too. Even the enemy says this thing is not correct, because if we had it, we would have used it on the guy. It's a bad issue. They say it's a good issue for Trump. Do you know that my poll numbers are up 4.5 points since this ridiculous Epstein stuff? My poll numbers.
Epstein, a highly contentious issue that's exposed major divisions within the Republican Party. The motion to subpoena was introduced by the subcommittee's ranking member, Summer Lee of Pennsylvania, and approved on a bipartisan vote of 8-2. Republican Representatives Brian Jack, Nancy Mace, and Scott Perry joined every Democrat on the subcommittee to vote in favor of the motion. House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer will be required to sign the subpoena before it can officially be issued.
Subcommittee on Federal Law Enforcement Oversight and Reform is back in session. Let me just announce to the members that we're going to get as much done as we can while votes are about to be called, so we can move forward with these proceedings reflective of our rules. I believe Mr. Perry had sought recognition for.
That's right, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to subpoena the following individuals to expand the full committee's investigation into Ms. Maxwell, and the list reads as follows: William Jefferson Clinton, Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton, James Brian Comey, Loretta Elizabeth Lynch, Eric Himpton Holder Jr., Merrick Brian Garland, Robert Swan Mueller III, William Pelham Barr, Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III, and Alberto Gonzalez. That's the full list, Mr. Chairman, and that's the motion.
The gentleman has a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to. Recorded vote is requested. Immediate? The clerk will call the roll. Does another member have, I'm not sure that's within the rules, but does another member have a request?
It is. Mr. Chairman.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to. Mr. Biggs have a motion?
I do, Mr. Chairman. I move that at the bottom of the current motion that it state the following. Additionally, all communications between President Biden or the Biden officials and the prosecuting agency related to the Epstein prosecutors also be released.
And that's at the bottom of which present motion, sir?
I'm not sure. I never received a copy of the motion, but it's the Democrats' motion that we're considering.
You're talking about amending the motion of Ms. Lee?
Yeah, if it's Ms. Lee that made the motion of for the subpoena. I did not get a copy of that, sir. We might have to.
And Mr. Chair, I think our preference and our request is to have the clean motion that Ms. Lee made to release the Epstein files is the vote that we'll be voting for.
Yes, and the gentleman's argument is being discussed. There's a parliamentarian discussion going on between the majority and the minority right now. We're going to follow the rules. In the meantime, votes have been called, and pursuant to the previous order, the subcommittee stands in recess. We'll be returning as fast as possible after votes, so we're going to call it a 1/2 hour window to return after votes.
Of all communications between President Joe Biden and or the Biden administration officials and the Department of Justice related to Jeffrey Epstein.
Motion is offered. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Prior to vote?
Yep. Thank you, sir.
You have an amendment to the amendment?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Garcia is recognized with an amendment to the amendment that Mr. Biggs has offered.
Thank you.
To Ms. Lee's motion.
I move to add a second amendment to the amendment to Mr. Biggs to strike President Joe Biden and or Biden administration officials and replace with, quote, any president or executive branch official, end quote.
We will dispense with Mr. Garcia's motion to amend the amendment of Mr. Biggs before we vote by voice on Mr. Biggs' amendment to Ms. Lee's motion. All those in favor of Mr. Garcia's motion to amend Mr. Biggs' motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it, and the motion is not agreed to.
Recorded vote, please, Mr. Chair.
Recorded vote is requested. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Gosar. Mr. Biggs. Mr. Biggs votes no. Ms. Mace. Ms. Mace votes no. Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry votes no. Ms. Boebert. Mr. Jack.
No.
Mr. Jack votes no. Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee votes yes. Mr. Bell. Mr. Bell votes yes. Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon votes yes. Ms. Presley. Ms. Presley votes yes. Mr. Garcia.
Yes.
Mr. Garcia votes yes. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman votes no. Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 5, the nays are 5.
vote is a tie. The motion fails. We now will dispense with Mr. Biggs' motion to amend the motion of Ms. Lee. All those in favor of Mr. Biggs' amendment, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to. We will now call up Ms. Lee's.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Right here. I move to amend Ms. Lee's motion to include the redacting of names of victims and any personally identifying information of said victims and any possible child sexual abuse material or CSAM. I think it's very important that we protect any potential victims.
That's an amendment to Ms. Lee's motion. All those in favor of Ms. Mace's amendment to Ms. Lee's motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Mace?
I move to amend Ms. Lee's motion to add the word credible before the word complete.
Ms. Mace has further amendment to Ms. Lee's motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
We'd like that. We just want that in writing. We just want to make sure we have the exact change to the motion, please.
I believe she said she's added one word to. Can we dispense?
Credible. The word credible after the word complete. Sorry.
We respect the gentleman's query. I'm asking to move forward.
We're going to give that to them.
Okay. A writ has been requested regarding Ms. Mace's one-word amendment to Ms. Lee's motion. We'll stand by to move forward with the vote while the clerk prepares the writ.
Mr. Chair, is there an opportunity to comment on the motion?
Not during the, not at this time. You're asking to be recognized for comment?
Yes.
After we've dispensed with this, yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment, please. Mr. Chair.
Mr. Garcia, you recognize the writ of Ms. Mace's amendment to Ms. Lee's motion has been distributed. Mr. Garcia, you recognized for comment.
Yeah, my question, and perhaps the question to Ms.
Order.
Thank you. I think adding the word credible, who makes the decision on what is credible? And I'm wondering, Ms. Mace, does the DOJ get an opportunity to make that decision?
I believe in the bipartisan bill by Representatives Massie and Khanna, they use language credible. Also, I think it's important that this doesn't need to be a witch hunt. We all want transparency on this committee, and you're seeing that process in play in real time right now. And I think it's really important that this is not a witch hunt, that we're talking about credible information, credible files, et cetera. And I believe it models the language that's in the Massie-Khanna bill or discharge petition.
Well, I mean, we'll definitely take a look at that. I think that obviously we want to make sure, I think like all of you, that we have a full release of the Epstein files and that all pertinent information is released. I don't doubt that all of you also want that same thing. I just think it's important that the word credible, I think, adds a concern that who's making the decision of what is actually credible within the actual file.
May I?
Please.
I think it's important that we ensure that we're not releasing unverified documents, that the documents that we are subpoenaing to have released are actually verified. So we've all worked on, I've worked on many issues with women and children. I happen to be a victim of a similar thing that I uncovered about 1 year, 9 months ago. I discovered possible child sexual abuse material in a device from someone in my district. And I reported it to the feds. I reported it to the State Law Enforcement Division, where there is an open and active investigation right now based on that information. And I understand when we are doing an investigation, because of the experience that I've just been through the last 1 year, 9 months, one, protecting victims, which we just did in my previous motion. But now I want to make sure that the information that we do release is verified and is credible. And I think that's fair. And you're watching us. This is democracy in motion. This is a Republican motion. You're seeing us work together to make sure that we're putting verified information, verified documents forward. That is, in my estimation, the best path forward to ensure that this isn't just some political witch hunt, that we're being actually very thoughtful about it with all parties involved.
I appreciate that. And I think our concern, and certainly mine, is that, you know, if it's the White House or anyone else that's making a decision of what's actually credible or not, or the DOJ,
we as a committee are doing that.
I understand that. I just want to make sure that we receive as much information as possible, and that the decision of what is actually credible is not being made by an outside party.
Well, we are making that.
The gentleman's time
we
for
have
comment on
Mr.
this
Chairman,
has expired.
May I, Mr. Chairman?
I would ask that in the interest of all members, we're debating one word on an amendment to a motion that we have yet to vote on.
Mr. Chairman, may I have 1 minute?
I recognize Ms. Mace.
We as the Oversight Committee, we have writ authority over our subpoena, over this motion, over the subpoena. So there's no one from the White House in the room today. There's no one from the DOJ in the room. This is us operating as our own legislative vehicle, doing this independently of anybody. And I think we want to be sure that this is structured in a way that is taken seriously, is real, and that it's verified. And we as a committee have that writ authority, Mr. Chairman, as you know. Thank you, and I yield back.
The gentlelady yields. Let me say again, we're debating one word. If you oppose, I would suggest that we move forward with a vote. If you oppose a motion, oppose a motion.
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
The good lady's recognized.
Thank you, sir. I would like to yield my time to Ranking Member Garcia.
Thank you. And I appreciate the back and forth. And I know we're going to vote here real soon. We're scanning the resolution. We don't see right now the word credible in there. Maybe it's there. We haven't seen it yet, but it's not something that we're seeing in the Massie resolution.
Okay.
And so
I'm a co-sponsor. I thought that was in there. So my apologies to the committee.
And so I think your initial motion, I think, is one that we obviously supported with the redacting of those names and information. I think if we can just move on from that credible word and allow the files to be released as they've intended, I think the motion as is was appropriate.
May I? So you're okay with having unverified, undocumented files released to the public? I mean,
but they're being released to the committee. They'll be released to us.
But you want unverified, undocumented?
Let's take all the information, Ms. Mace, and then at that point, this committee can make those decisions. You're going to have that information. We'll all have it. As far as what's released to the public is a separate question.
Right. I just think it's very important for this to be taken seriously, that we're using legitimate documents, that they are verified. I'm going to yield to Mr. Biggs, who would like to. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, it's not.
Yep.
I believe that I yielded my time, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Garcia. So if he wants to yield it back to me.
Yeah, what I would do is
hold on. I had recognized Ms. Mace. Did Mr. Garcia's?
Yep.
Oh,
my
Ms.
time.
Simon.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just.
There's a lot of recognition here.
Thank you, sir. Last piece. I think, look, if you want to adopt the language that's actually in the Massie resolution as it relates to the information and what information we want to get back, I think we'd be okay with that.
Well, let's do that.
Let's do that. We're happy. We're happy to do that. Yeah. Okay. There's language in the Massie resolution that we'll have to write it out. So you'll need to give us some time, but we're happy to do that with our two teams.
Mr. Bell had sought recognition, I believe. We're recognized for comment, Mr. Bell.
I'm not going to withdraw the amendment.
On Ms. Mace, pardon?
I'm not withdrawing the amendment. I want to vote on it.
I understand. On Ms. Mace's amendment to Ms. Lee's motion, Ms. Mace's amendment being adding the word credible to Ms. Lee's motion. Mr. Bell is recognized, and let us move forward, please.
With respect to how this, the legalese of this is that when you introduce a word like credible, essentially what you're saying is that someone is going to make a decision on what's credible and what's not credible. And when we're talking about due process, and I don't care whose name is in this report, Democrat, Republican, or whomever, the public has a right, folks have a right to know, particularly when we're dealing with folks who have been preying on children. And it's disappointing to me that people on this committee do not want to see all of the information regarding potential trafficking, potential or alleged child preying on children. We saw a amendment that limited to President Biden and his communications, but yet members on this community want to claim that this is not, they don't want a political witch hunt. We just made it a political witch hunt. And what we're saying is, let's just release the files. Let's find out what's in there. Whoever is in there, they should. Let's find out what's in there. Let's get to the bottom of it. That's what justice is about. And so, it disappoints me, and I'm glad that we're not doing this vote in the middle of the night, as some of these other controversial votes have been brought up. This is in broad daylight. And whoever votes, how you vote, is right here for everyone to see. And so if you want to add language that could potentially protect predators, just know you're going to be held accountable for that, and we're not going to forget about it, because I don't care if my mother's name was in there. I'm sorry, Mom, for throwing you in there. We need to find out what the information is in that document, because keep in mind, there might be other victims. There might be other victims out there who may not feel empowered to stand up because they don't feel that we're supporting them. And so,
Mr. Chairman.
All right, I'll yield my time. I'll yield my time back to the ranking member.
I think we're ready to vote, and then we'll move forward.
Mr. Chairman. No, the importance of the word.
Mr. Biggs is recognized. Yields time to Ms. Mace.
It's important that I am currently now, I have actively reported child sexual abuse material that I uncovered 1 year, 9 months ago, November 5th, 2023. And I'm working with victims. And so to sit here and say that members of this committee, like myself, don't want information out about possible crimes against children, we're literally voting on that right now. It's going to be a bipartisan vote. So I take issue with that. But also, we're in an environment, a political environment, where the Steele dossier was touted out there as something that was credible. It wasn't credible. We're out here, we were told that the Hunter Biden laptop wasn't credible. When it ended up, it was credible. And so, we're in this environment, and I want to be as transparent as possible. You're going to see me vote for this and the other Republicans on this subcommittee. But it's important that we treat this with the dignity, the respect, the transparency, and that we're not going down the conspiracy rabbit hole that our country has been through for the last 4 years. Like, we're trying to instill trust in an institution. And regardless of what's in the files, who's in the files, all of that, we want to, I think, as a body, on this committee, this subcommittee, show that we can be trusted and that we're not going to play these games. And I think it's just really important that we're talking about verified documents. That's why I want the word credible in there. I am living this nightmare in real time with some of my constituents because of evidence that I personally uncovered. And I'm fighting like hell, tooth and nail, for those victims. And I can't tell you, when you see possible child sexual abuse material, what it does to your soul and how awful. And you're right there with me, shaking your head. I can't tell you how devastating it is, how devastating it's been to me, the trauma that I've endured, the vicarious trauma that I've endured dealing with victims. So I take this issue very seriously, and I want to see us do this work, but do it in a way that's not going to be tainted. I'm sick of the political games. I'm sick of it. Let's do something that's real. Let's do something that's right. Let's do something that's verified so that we can be trusted. No one trusts us up here. But we're doing the work now, and that's why I'm very passionate about this and doing it the right way. not the political way, not the easy way, not the way that we're going to go, that some people in this committee might go fundraise on this afterwards, how everyone's eager to take this vote to go make money for their campaigns next year or use it as a wedge in a political campaign in the midterms next year. Let's do it real. Let's do it real. Let's do it right. Let's do it with dignity. Let's do it with verified information and documents and do it the right way for the American people. Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
The gentlelady yields. Mr. Biggs yields back his time. We call it Ms. Mace's amendment number 2 for vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of chairs, the ayes have it.
Recorded vote, please.
Recorded vote is called for. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Gosar. Mr. Biggs. Mr. Biggs votes aye. Ms. Mace. Ms. Mace votes aye. Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry votes aye. Ms. Boebert. Mr. Jack.
Aye.
Mr. Jack votes aye. Ms. Lee. No. Ms. Lee votes no. Mr. Bell.
No.
Mr. Bell votes no. Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon votes no. Ms. Presley. Ms. Presley votes no. Mr. Garcia. Mr. Garcia votes no. Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman votes aye.
The clerk will read the tally.
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 5, the nays are 5.
There being a tie, the ayes have it. The motion fails. There being a tie, the motion fails. And now we will be calling up Ms. Lee's motion as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. In the opinion of the, pardon? In the opinion of the chair, the no has it.
Recorded vote, sir.
Recorded vote is called for. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Gosar. Mr. Biggs. Ms. Mace. Ms. Mace votes aye. Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry votes aye. Ms. Boebert. Mr. Jack.
Aye.
Mr. Jack votes aye. Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee votes yes. Mr. Bell.
Aye.
Mr. Bell votes aye. Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon votes aye. Ms. Presley. Ms. Presley votes aye. Mr. Garcia.
Aye.
Mr. Garcia votes aye. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman votes no. Mr. Biggs is not recorded. Mr. Biggs votes nay. Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 8, the nays are 2.
The subcommittee stands adjourned.